recording. One second, I have to back up, sorry. How's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for being here. As I reload the agenda on the screen, hope you had a chance to partake in the refreshments. Apologize for the lack of water. That was my job and I failed. I was supposed to bring it, but I just got out of another meeting. Call the meeting order. Time is 7:20 p.m. March 2nd. We're going to go a little bit differently, given we don't have a quorum. I'm going to let up line and move that we suspend Robert's rules in general, or just rules. Suspend our operating rules, which is mostly Robert's rules, unless we say otherwise, for that purpose. So we can vote on a couple things. We're really close, but yeah.
I thought that without a quorum vote, right?
That's almost. I have a second to that, just to send the rule. And, all in favor? Count, I think. Let's see, seeing not enough to get against it. The point is, we want to vote on the constitution, the bylaws that you guys had a couple weeks to look at now. And we were going to vote on it when I wasn't here last week, but we didn't have a quorum. But at this point in time, we need to really put them together and get on the website before the end of the year. So that's the purpose for that. I would call attention to the approval of the agenda minutes and table that, because it's in technical difficulties, and so we have not had a chance to actually listen to them if you actually do listen to them. And so at our next meeting, we will just move to approve both previous meeting minutes, if I hear no challenges against that. All right. Then I will move on to old business. Starting with Select Committee on USG grievances, which I will acquiesce to Mr. Clay Awesome and Andrew. Give a quick update.
Yeah, we held 2 hearings, and there is one additional hearing, and waiting on submission of materials. Hopefully, this week. Our intention was to conclude hearings and charges and evidence by the end of this week to give us essentially the latter part of this week. And go through everything that has been submitted to the hearings and submitted as supporting evidence to what was discussed in the hearings, so that we can come back after the break and continue on from there.
Which will include having a report.
Yep.
Are we still on track for that? Which be or?
Yeah. A little up in the air as far as the submission of materials. It's been promised to us this week.
Okay.
Although, I'll send them all morning. On top of that,
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. You have any questions about that? No? We turn on the optical well. Okay. Item number B, GPSC bylaws vote. You have the thing. Always going to hand out another paper copy. You guys have seen this. We've had it in your hands at least for a month now.
Yeah, 4 copies out.
So 4 copies to circulate. Sorry. They're on our website. You've gotten at least 3 emails about it. Does anybody have any? We'll open the floor first for any clarification questions before I make a motion to vote on it, one way or the other. So, does anybody have any questions? Wait for it to fine too. But questions? I hear a motion then to approve the revised bylaws and constitution. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Yay! So, appreciate your patience. I think once it's on the website in there, you'll see the clarity and difference in which formatting more than anything else, and our now ability to have a meeting outside of Tuesday night will benefit going forward. But in just general fact of professional appearance, how much better this looks. And I want to thank the executive committee, especially for putting in a lot of hours and getting it done. And this is really over the course of almost a whole year. We've like sat and spent 30 or 40 hours going through it. So I want to thank everyone for that. The next line we have is the absence policy resolution, which we'll have to table now until John Flowers gets into the room. And putting in the reports, apologize. We both come from the Chancellor Search Committee where we were choosing the finalists. And like all committees on campus, it got a little heated and he decided to stay a little bit longer, get some clarification points for us. New business, Grant Officer and Human Reports, starting, like I said, with our Vice President for Administrative Affairs, Mr. Lyles, instead. And we will go from there. If John gets in before he's finished, we'll jump to him. If not, we will have him close out the meeting with today's report. Mr. Lyles, the floor is yours.
Let's see. We'll go to the research award first, and Diana will give us a report on that.
Oh, sure. So as you noticed, GPSC has sent out information about our GPSC Research Awards. Please tell your constituents about that. It's active also on our website, so they can link to that. And the important thing is that they have to submit everything online. And so they will have now till April 3rd to go ahead and submit that. And then what I will need is potentially volunteers. I have 4 right now, but I need 4 other volunteers who can also serve on that committee to review those submissions. And so the way that it works is that there will be 4 teams of 2. Let's say, I'll use this example, that we received 40 applications. Each team then would be divided, and then each team would get 10. You would review that separately before our Saturday meeting, which would be held on the 8th. And then at that meeting, you will meet with your team member, discuss your top picks. We then will select from our own group's top pick, and then talk about our top picks as a group to then have our final candidates be discussed. And so last year, we have up to $5,000 to give away, with $1,000 being the top reward. But last year, we found that 4 candidates were worthy of that $1,000 reward. One had just requested $500. And so we also then determined that another candidate should be able to receive that $500. So it doesn't have to be just a balance of $1,000. Some candidates will receive $1,000 or $500, if that makes sense. Any questions about like the process, if you were to volunteer?
If you did not get an email about it, I again apologize because I hadn't updated our listserv through the employee request because it's a new semester, which is why Mr. Chris is willing to give you that's why. But an email was sent out yesterday to all graduate and professional students on campus. So it's on our website. If you just go to the Allocation Board 2017 Research Awards, and it'll walk us through it pretty easily.
And then I believe this year as well, there will be an award ceremony that also accompanies the, so if you're selected, there's going to be an award ceremony for those who were selected from the award. So do encourage people to submit for this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's across the board. So we get all types of submissions from all departments on campus, and so you'll be definitely reviewing some interesting materials. So, is there anybody that might be interested in participating as far as like the reviewers this year? Sweet.
Also point out too, don't be afraid if you're an actual body member to apply. This year, even going further of pulling anonymity through the process, so like their name will just be a number until the final selection, like they don't know whose name it is when they're vetting the proposals, and you can have another fail safe if there's a disparity in scoring margin. The entire committee will be selected as well. So do everything we can to make it as fair as possible, so that the people who have, such as yourself, that they will feel comfortable applying as well.
Yeah, that's it. What's up? That's when the deadline for submissions. We'll be meeting on Saturday morning to go over our applicants. And so you'll have time as your team to review a portion of that, and then we discuss our top picks as a working group. So I guess we can also send out emails so if it's something that you might apply for to consider. If not, I'll just send later.
Next, we will consider the event funding request from the Association of English Graduate Instructors and Students. They will be hosting their 10th annual English graduate conference, excuse me. They have a keynote speaker that will be coming in to present during this conference. In addition, they will also be giving out graduate paper awards. The FAB met and considered this application request today, and we are recommending support in the amount of $750, which would cover the honorarium for the keynote speaker. Can I get a motion to approve this request? Awesome. Can I get a second? All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Awesome. Thank you. As it relates to the legislative road trip, we are still in works or in conversations with the president's office to gauge their level of support for this venture. We are giving them until tomorrow, and then we're going to move forward. So I'll have an update for you guys on March 21st at our next meeting. As I stated at our last meeting, SIU Carbondale is going to be hosting what's called a big event, which is a huge day of service in the Carbondale community. I think 20-something odd projects in Carbondale will be taking place. I asked if there was any interest in creating a GPSC team. Didn't hear anything, so I asked one more time before we close the topic if there's any interest in there being a GPSC team.
Now, we either pick the project or we just find out.
The way it works, well, I'm already organizing another team for the non-traditional veteran students, so unfortunately I would not be able to participate with the GPSC team. But if you have a group, I think that you can select an off-campus site, and then you can pick the Boys and Girls Club, Touch of Nature. So there's lots of different things you can go to the website to choose from, and then you can say your estimated team amount. So be estimated from from 2 to 4 people, from 4 to 10, and then from 11 to 20. So it goes to different ranges. So you just say that this is going to be your estimated amount. Once you have that, then you have like a team name that you would select, and people then will individually under that team sign up. There's buses that will pick you up here on campus and take you to those off-site locations. And there's 2 shifts, early morning shift and then more like a morning afternoon shift. So you don't have to be there the entire day. And so you can coordinate that with your group leader, even if you were to join along with the veteran and non-traditional students, happy to have you. So if you do not determine anything here, if you do not have a request, then they set you on campus. So they also have on-campus activities for those who just want to keep it simple, be here, and be able to have that accessible, leaving kind of without that commitment happening for bus.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What day is this?
April 1st.
I would say I was in last week and I saw that, and I am interested. I would even go as far as to say that volunteers get shirts. with the team name. If you're interested, just contact us, but it was the deadline.
I know that, well, if I would pull up the website, I'd like to pull up the website now.
You can just say like before the end of the week.
Because I know that for some of the offsite locations with a little bit more popularity, they had told us that those might go sooner, so I don't know if some of those are still available. For example, Touch of Nature, they were expecting a large person when they go there. But I know that, I believe that it's at least a week out or 2 weeks out that they have to finalize that, so they can let, if you're going offsite, so they can let those offsite locations estimate how many people to expect, and you'll organize that amount of people. On-site though, so if you have a late registration, then chances are you have to stay on campus, because then they can handle that,
Yeah.
that class. But if we wanted anything off-site, then it has to be as soon as possible.
I think so. I think an onsite would be interesting because when you even leave one, but also you get to see what you contributed towards. I mean, it's not. I don't think anyone's surprised if this building was dated. You could do some polish and English if you want. Granted, especially if yours might get it nice given the current climate. So if anyone's interested in doing that, send me an email. I will. We'll follow up on Friday, if possible, like this last second call, and if we don't hear back from you by our next executive committee meeting, we'll assume that there's not going to be a team.
But even if you don't have enough to, like, a team could even just be 2 people practically.
Okay.
If you want that to be a representation of GPSC here on campus, you would still have that, and I think that they would still honor that as a team, or even 3 people.
Okay.
Especially if it's on campus, it's more of the off-campus locations.
If anyone's interested, please email myself or just the GPSC email in general, and we'll get on it.
And this is the only other random thing is that you have to be an adult to participate, so you can't, like this is more for non-traditional students, so a lot of people ask me if things are pretty good kids. And unfortunately, I have told no. So if you're hoping to participate for non-traditional students or GPSC, unfortunately, you cannot bring your children.
Please.
I used to say dang lawyers.
Dang lawyers. Yeah, so you would not be able to bring your children to participate.
Do they, like, what type of projects will be done?
All types of projects. Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, we've got Carbondale Main Street, Green Earth, Stay Safe Family Fun Fest, For Kids' Sake, Touch of Nature, Keep Carbondale Beautiful, Autism Society, Boys and Girls Club, American Cancer Society, Humane Society, SIU Leadership Development Program are the current direct service projects. And then we've also got the Sustainability Office, Craft Shop, Leslie Food Pantry, Frozen Foundations, has 2 projects, Maker and Cross, First Responder Appreciation, Veteran Appreciation, and the Bags to Goes.
Yeah, so it just depends on where you decide, or where you get, I guess, placed.
Any questions about that? We good? So obviously, if you have please reach out to your constituents if they haven't already heard about that. If you need a flyer, we can make you a couple of copies, or email it to you as well. Excuse me. And as I alluded to earlier, we are now going to jump back up to line item number 4.5a and give the floor to Mr. Jonathan Paul.
Okay. So grad council report. Grad council was fun, insofar as it was really short. There is nothing of note to report except when we get down to Dr. Komaraji's dean council report. Specifically, the deans are having or have had a retreat, and they have 2 more scheduled. And at these retreats, they will be looking at the prioritization of programs based on the data provided by the provost. This data will be gathered through activity insights and other expensive metrics that the institution has paid for. And this data will be used to prioritize programs based on the academic program prioritization guidelines. Additionally, the Dean's Council looked at the non-academic data, and they are looking to categorize recommendations into things that are easy to implement, e.g. they can do them right now, or things that will take a long period of time to implement. So of note, and this affects us generally, the amount of startup money for new faculty has gone down, and the money for hires generally is down. And so the institution has less than $1 million for fall 17, and we'll probably be looking at a similar amount for fall 18. So part of their discussion during their retreat was that the startup costs are different across colleges, and an idea was floated to develop some norms for the provision of startup funds for individual disciplines, which is basically a discussion on how to make the best use of the available money. This is a problem given the way that the institution has an implicit value for some disciplines over others. I have not reached out to Dean Komaraju to ask her how she's going to get around that, but I don't think she has an answer for it. To that end, some of our constituents came to me with concerns about the way in which their departments are engaging in particular kinds of budget cuts, mostly in COLA, but in other academic units. Since I could get easily to Dean Komaraju, I sent her an email requesting the status of funding reductions in departments across COLA. She said she had no data, and these conversations are ongoing. No comment basically, but I don't necessarily, well, we can get a comment. I just don't find it helpful that the dean of the college is saying she has no data when units are actually reporting that things are going on. This is a problem. The other reason I raise this is if units are not willing to communicate with student constituency bodies about the financial status of our academic units, then we may have to elevate a request, go ask the provost.
This is particularly important because as we've gone back over the past, the current climate or facilitation in which the administration has chosen to deal with the budgeting issue is basically give the deans a set number and say make it work. And so the deans and themselves are saying, okay, this is how we're going to operate with this much money. So if you see anything like this or you hear anything that is of concern of you in your department or your whatever, speak up, send us an email. Because even though it might seem like, oh, well, that word doesn't actually mean anything, well, now it actually could be something given the current climate, at least for the near future. Any questions about that? Yes.
Oh, it's next on my list. Diversity Council reports. The Diversity Council invited Chancellor Caldwell to its most recent meeting. Donald and I were present for that. It was interesting. I'm not entirely certain how much we can actually talk about that. But suffice it to say, that meeting was interesting for a variety of reasons. Work is still proceeding on the diversity plan. The faculty survey went out, and we are apparently getting a wide amount of responses to the faculty survey. Can we talk about those numbers? All right, so as of yesterday, well, we can't, I can't give a name now. As of yesterday, we have approximately 1/4 of the number. So 500 people responded.
And it's only been up.
12 hours at that time. So 500 people responded, and it was only up for about 12 hours. If you want to do the math, that's about 1/4 of the total number of students who responded to the student survey. So when that number gets to 1/2 of the total number of students, like 1,000 faculty and staff, I'd probably be a little bit annoyed.
What survey?
The diversity or the climate survey sent out by the Diversity Council.
This was just faculty?
Yeah.
And the student survey was up 2 weeks.
2.5.
And what was our response to the email?
Oh,
What was our on our survey that we sent out?
That we
Even
sent
though it's
out?
unrelated, but just in terms of like the general response.
I mean, I can't.
Like 1,200?
That's really,
Okay.
I don't know why I can't think of the number. He knows it. But I can't think of it right now.
2020 post. The last thing about the Diversity Council, a question was asked with regards to the cross tabulation of the data. We can get that number, but the Diversity Council is likely not going to release the responses publicly. We will use the cross tabulation in the formulation of our diversity plan to isolate areas of concern. There is that. Next thing on my list is actually
You're
nothing.
done. I know you're made.
Yeah, I don't have a 30-minute report this time.
All right. That brings it down to C, which is me. Ben, good evening, everyone. Starting off with the Chancellor Search Committee, which John and myself just came from. I can report at this point in time that there's been an official vote to send a number of the finalists recommended to be put towards the board have been chosen, and in the next week, the subcommittees will be going through and vetting on and off reference lists of the said finalists, and the goal, I believe, is to publicly announce the finalists when we get back from spring break. Yes.
Is it gonna be 3 finalists, or how does that go?
I would love to tell you, but I don't feel like giving that by the chair of the committee. And so just know that it's going to be in the range of 2 to 4 possible finalists, but we don't know. Because what this is the advisory committee recommending a number of people, and the board of trustees saying, we don't even have to listen to you, but thanks for all your work. So it's kind of nebulous in terms of, the goal is to submit our recommendations and then the board act upon these recommendations in time to where we're not having those who are interested in asking questions to the finalists on campus aren't doing so closely by people, and that there is an actual decision made in the end of April board of trustees meeting, so that way we can go into May knowing who our permanent chancellor is going to be. Which is optimistic. If nothing else, we will know we'll no longer have an interim. I can say with confidence, this is the one day I can say with confidence, we will have a permanent chancellor, non-interim chancellor before the end of the semester. Other than that, I don't know. So, other committees and updates, the Mass Transit Committee yesterday or Friday decided to stop servicing a couple stops because of demolishing apartment complexes, which they usually were there for. They did that because it was felt that they were to do that. There's closeness in stops, and it also just generate quicker turnaround for the whole route. So that, nothing really controversial. Also, the student trustee election is coming up very quickly. I will be asking for volunteers for nominations for that election committee, probably via email. I normally would have called it in this meeting, but right now we are in negotiation of sorts, due in large part thanks to Mr. Howard, who we drafted the entire rules package in light of internal fiasco last year, and we had a meeting with the Vice Chancellor this morning, which is actually very productive, and we're hoping to have the rules finalized also before spring break, hopefully sooner, so that way myself and the USG president can sign them and start beginning with the actual committee. And so as soon as I sign those rules, I'll send out an email to everyone asking for volunteers if they want to be on the election board. I've been on it twice myself. It's actually a very it's interesting experience and pretty fun in a short amount of time, but it's something that if you were to volunteer, make sure you're not you don't have a heavy final load because it will take up some of your time.
Student trustee, is that undergraduate student or graduate?
So that's all students holistically. And that is probably one of the biggest contention points of which we're going to be negotiating is that we propose that given the disparity in number size between undergraduates and graduate students and the lack of a graduate student trustee for the last however
10 years.
decade or more, that that there be a change of sorts, that like every alternation of graduate versus popular would be a little
Like
bit
the proposal for odd years of undergraduate students.
And so that way we actually enable, because as it stands right now in the past, it doesn't behoove anybody, even though it's popular graduate or professional student would have to get every single graduate professional vote and a big chunk of the undergrad vote just to have a chance of winning. Because, and also include those rules, we've, I believe, broken apart because in the past, the student trustee election and UHD election were very similarly connected in time and in concert in that way, so they would only run on a ticket, so to speak, and we've stopped that, and we've also cleaned up some other
restrictions. They cannot run for a few position offices or anything tickets.
Yep.
I think that, last year, there were only, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 1,000, or a little bit over 1,000 students that actually voted.
Actually, there's a lot more. There's a lot. Last year was probably the biggest voting number in the last 5 years. So something.
So put simply, this is an attempt to, because the elections for student trustee are open and student trustee is supposed to represent all students, and historically, the student trustee has only engaged with the undergraduate student concerns. There was a concern that there is no conceivable way for a graduate student to win a student trustee election given the population disparity. And so in the redrafting of the rules, we incorporated mechanisms to keep that from happening so that at some point there will be a graduate student who is the student trustee and who will be the voice of the students on the board of trustees. This was a thing that we felt was extremely important considering, at least at the board level, there isn't really a sensitivity to considering issues of graduate and professional students. I say graduate and professional students because professional students are also eligible to run for student trustee. And the last graduate student to hold it was not a professional student.
All that being said, that's our proposal. Will that be what it will look like? I will update you in real time. Right?
You said this is a proposal, it's not finalized.
So the way the student trustee rules work is that myself, the undergraduate president, student government president, and the head officer for student affairs all sign an agreement of what the rules should be. And
Seems that we're moving her from complete final application.
she actually didn't have an issue with that as long as we tightened up a couple of spots. We had a very optimistic meeting in terms of this data. So everyone signs that document, and then it becomes forcible law, if you will, in terms of election guidelines and so forth. So in the past, someone just voted out because no one else cared. But given our concerted efforts and past issues of embarrassment that have been SIU on the board of trustees level in terms of wrongful elections and things of that nature, we've made a more and more concerted effort to be active in the process. And this is just furthering that goal for that end. On a side note, though, I will point out that I don't know when it happened, but the student trustee used to be, well, granted, it's a all-student position, but at one point it used to be the position that was full, like in the 50s and 40s. Like no one cared about being the undergraduate student government president or the graduate professional student president. Everyone, they had 18 people run for student trustee, and so which isn't a bad thing considering activity-wise. And so at least nothing else, we've seen an uptick in participation. We're hoping this will continue that as graduate professional students are doing more active in advocate roles and things like that.
How would that even work with the, you said it would go back and forth? How
So
would
it's basically set up, I think it's odd years as undergraduate candidates are allowed to run. Graduate students allowed to run even years. It's re-elected every year. So, and it's done this spring. So this year being 2017, I think it'd be undergraduates again.
Yeah.
Next year will be graduate students only allowed to vote. It's just because we haven't had interest in graduate students because of the inability to even be close to winning. Especially with USG, they're doing party ticket groups and another problem that I fixed in there was just we had a lot of rapid violations of campaign rules.
Yeah.
Explicit violations and that were overturned a lot of that work that were requirements throughout.
Well, in general, it gives them more legitimacy to the committee, right?
It gives legitimacy to the election rules too.
And it's more similarly in relation to the other elections that come through about because the vice chancellor doesn't have supreme authority rules or our election process because we have our own procedures for killing those things, and much like the undergraduates do. So it just made sense all around, and I look forward to getting it nailed down hopefully this week. And it'll lead me into my last announcement, or one of my last announcements, the open house tomorrow at
From 11
to 1. In this back room over here, I don't know if you guys noticed, piece by piece, it's been set up to be an RSO suite. It's part of the switch while we're now up here in the front office, as versus all the way in the back where you can never find us. By the International Student Council will hopefully be very soon where Wi-Fi flows on out of the basement and those sorts of things. We're actually getting to an open house, a ribbon cutting tomorrow. If you are interested in that, you're more than welcome to attend. The more the merrier. I will say as a reminder, while the operating paper is not 100% complete, we have been going back and forth to guarantee at least 1 or 2 spots for graduate RSO spaces in that suite. Obviously, there's more undergraduate RSOs and graduate RSOs, but we felt there should at least be 1 or 2 offices, or right of first refusal for the graduate RSOs. And all that will be published, hopefully, as well, be available as well tomorrow, if all goes well, at least by the end of the week. So if you have an RSO and need a meeting space or an office to do whatever it is you do, advocacy or fundraising or whatever it is, you can apply for by semester to have a free office desk at them.
Some
are.
have workstations.
Yeah, some have workstations, but at the very least you'll have an office with a closed door and a desk that with them. And there's also a TV and a meeting space and like more of a, that type of stuff. Any questions about that? Cool. The last announcement I have before opening up to anyone else has any is we need a student worker. We had 2 of our workers from last semester leave, and I've been told by the current ones that they would like somebody to pick up the slack because they're not going to do it any longer. No, they're actually we have very 2, Abby and Hannah. It's right in front of me. Hey, far and it happens to you.
That's fair.
They have expressed the need for support, and especially when it comes closer to finals time. Why I'm saying this now is I want to make sure that if any of you or anyone you know that the graduate and professional student happens to be interested in a known paid job, seeing our desk going through email for I think it's 8 hours a week. Is it looks like? Contact us. I will leave that open and tell the constituency. People will post on our website, and if we don't get responses, we'll then go pick from the pool below, just to make sure we have precedence and because that was part of the deal in getting this prime real estate.
So you preferably want a graduate as a professional student?
Given the money from paying the student comes from the graduate portion of the student fee, so yeah, we had initially set up 2 graduate students. Both of them being international graduate students worked with us initially, but they just kind of disappeared last semester. So otherwise we would already have 8 hours a week, but it could be as flexible.
What is the job?
Basically directing people to where the new student affairs office is and making sure that email gets responded to and forwarding, just general stuff. Yeah, just office work. 2 screens, and a very comfortable chair. All right, any, I'm gonna open it up to any other representatives, have any, go to any committees or have any updates?
I got a couple things. One, grad council, or at least grad council needs a graduate student representative to serve on the academic grievance committee. So I would ideally, no, just, it doesn't matter if it's a rep. I would prefer it be a rep of graduate council, but we need someone to serve on that committee, on a grievance committee. And I prefer to have the name before close of business on Friday.
In regards to,
I cannot tell you until you decide to serve.
How long would it be?
Uh,
The commitment, how old
One meeting every 2 weeks, and if we decide to have this giant hearing, then you have to sit for that.
academic grievance,
Yes.
so students bring grievances to the department.
I really can't tell you anything until. So if you are interested, email the GPSC email address. I have a report from Lauren Schaefer, who is our representative to the NASPA Culture of Respect program. She states, overall, I believe this task force is successful. The Culture of Respect program seems to understand the nature of great culture on college campuses, helps the university come up with solutions that are specific to their needs rather than the one-size-fits-all model currently taken by SIU, and its greatest strength is bringing people from across the university together. I wanted to clarify that while the webinar that they viewed indicated the institution would not be blamed, they did not necessarily mean that the institution is not implicated. However, they argued this is not a measurement to target the institution, but rather to take a critical perspective of the system as a whole. I think this is one of the greatest strengths of the program because of my experience on these types of task force. The members are very quick to blame the administration, students, fraternities, athletes, etc., without questioning how all parts of the systems play a role in great culture. Essentially, this program does not take the route of scapegoating, but rather suggests that we are responsible for stopping sexual violence. I only took issue with the end of the meeting when Dr. Massey suggested that, quote, there is no value in doing one SWOT analysis in 5 minutes, and we still had at least 30 minutes left of the meeting. While this is frustrating because part of the webinar discussed the importance of following the steps, I also understand that the meeting invitation was sent out 26 hours before the meeting and was scheduled for 2 hours. Therefore, they were worried about holding people for too long. With that being said, for now, I do not think lack of time will be an issue because it seems they will be sending out to the poll to determine when we are available, and we will be receiving meeting notices at least a week in advance. Lauren could not make our meeting to answer questions, and if you have any questions about the initiative, which is done by NASPA and is coming out of Laura Stempler's office, you can send me an email and I will forward it to Lauren. The last thing that I have, GAU has a happy hour on tomorrow at Pinch, not tomorrow, Thursday at Pinch, it's been a long day. At 6, I have flyers in my office. We are also doing a postcard campaign to advocate for a fee cap. Right now, graduate students pay about 20% of their wages back in fees. We, as part of bargaining, are trying to negotiate a cap on fees. If you want a postcard for the campaign, I will put them on the front desk in the office so that you can grab one, fill it out, and drop it in the mailbox. That is all that is necessary. At our happy hour, we'll be giving a bargaining update and having some other conversations about contract stuff. Just want to remind us that we are not affected by any of the stuff going on with AFSCME because of the union, basically.
Before I do a motion to adjourn, or any other roundtable announcements or discussions that anyone would like to make?
I actually am curious on the curiosity question.
Before you get that, actually, that's what, sorry, the main part. If it's prudent, could you share to the council what you said both about the lawsuit getting trained in terms of voting rights for international students?
It is not yet. We're waiting for an email back.
Okay.
But when I have an approval, we will make But I do have a question. There's a scuttlebutt rumor mill going around that we're losing another 8% of our student population after the semester.
I have no knowledge of that, but I can get that information from Provost Ford whenever I decide to send her an email, or Dean Lee. If Dean Lee can-
And that wasn't including graduate students.
The scuttlebutt is just a derivative of like the first line we look at. What I could say is that the lack of, like, you look at your hitching points, and we're down a big number in terms of one certain area. But I won't go into detail because I don't know if I have permission to say that. I don't see how that would translate to 800. That would be a huge. The brink is not there at this point in time. However, obviously, until we have a state budget, we should. I don't see how we could expect not to have a continued decline. I mean, hopefully, when a new chancellor will revitalize that, but you never know.
Like I said, I'll ask Provost Ford, and I will CC Dean Lee to see if he has grad student numbers.
What I was hearing, the only schools that aren't experiencing major losses is ISU and the private one in Chicago.
There was a report given out by the General Higher Education a couple months ago that ISU picked up students, U of I picked up students, and U of I stayed level and everyone else dropped. That's only official data though, huh?
They increased their tuition, correct?
U of I increased their tuition, lowered their ACT and SAT scores. ISU ironically picked up almost the same number that we dropped in, but that's just that's correlation and causation. It's hard to right? That's it.
Yeah.
Also, in case you didn't know and play friends in that audience, we're now all everyone gets in-state funding, in-state tuition. There's no longer a semester wait. In case if you didn't know that already. I mean, we're computer, it doesn't matter, but law school has been doing that, and we had pushed the administration to do that, and because of the success of the law school, it seemed to maintain its numbers by doing that. Now it's a university-wide policy that there's no out-of-state tuition number any longer.
For grad students.
For undergrad and graduate students, as long as they're not international, or just undergrad.
Just undergrad, grad student tuition changes have to go through grad counseling. That's the thing we were talking about with that.
Okay. So undergrad, sorry, grad students this time.
That's going to be a little bit more complicated.
So when out-of-state students are coming in, they all have like the 12 months before they become resident. It's
All out-of-state students pay in-state tuition.
Which is a pretty big chunk. Before it was you basically have to wait a semester. But the idea was you get that because the state supported the school. I think the state supported the school, then why are you doing that? If nothing else, motion to adjourn and thank everyone. Second, all in favor? Awesome. We'll see you guys. And remember, our next meeting is 2 days after you're back from spring break. So we'll do is remind you and everything, but you graduated. 2 days after spring break, and then come back.
Is that down to the hobby show?
Oh.
What?
Yes. No, they're like doing it in the middle of the USG.
Right?
You want me to go?
No, I'm gonna take care of it.
All right.
Letting you know that's what I'm about to do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. You yourself?
It was interesting.
Yeah? Something you'd be interested in later in life?
Do you do regular training in Robert's rules?
We don't because we conceive